Becoming an entrepreneur is an exciting adventure, but it is never without risk. Entrepreneurs possess a special energy that dreams big and responds creatively to life's challenges. My name is Fiona Duran, and I'm so delighted to host this evening's event featuring four amazing entrepreneurs, each with a fascinating backstory and tips to share on working without a safety net during these very turbulent times. Presenting this evening are Fiona Duran, CEO of Coconut Village Nails and Spa, Greg Smith, Director of Promotional Marketing, Elvira Caria, award-winning multi-platform broadcaster, and Sarah Chang, founder of Bluish, a beautiful tool shop for women, moms, and babies. Each entrepreneur will present in a short TEDx format, and then we'll open up the Q&A. Please feel free to submit your questions at any time, and you can ask your questions to one, some, or all of our entrepreneurs. So please note that when you submit your questions. And heads up, everyone, this event is being recorded as part of Aurora Public Library's archive, Entrepreneurs in Residence. Our first entrepreneur is Fiona Duran. Fiona is the CEO of Coconut Village Nails and Spa. Over the years, Fiona has reinvented herself as an entrepreneur since moving to Canada from Jamaica. As a Black woman, she has an important personal perspective to share. Her story is one of many chapters. Welcome, Fiona.
Thank you so much, Risha. This is so amazing, so humbling. Thank you to the Aurora Public Library for this opportunity to have the conversation with you. Thank you to everyone who made the time to participate and to join us in this conversation. It's always an ongoing learning process for everyone. So thank you so much. And we look forward to your questions that we can learn from and take away for ourselves as well. So it is amazing. When asked to be a part of this, I think, what can I share? There's so much to talk about. And who do I really want to speak to? Who do I want to can leave and take away something? And I really want it should be from someone who have never done a business to the person who's the top of the peak of what they're doing. And so, as Risha says, I'm Fiona, the owner of Coconut Village Nail Spa in Aurora, and it's been amazing to serve my community. I want to quickly share with you my 5 core principles that I use on the journey of my entrepreneurship. The first point is know your why and know who you are. When you know your why, that why makes you stay up at night, and you can literally also, it's something you can do in your sleep, not because it's easy, but because it's your passion. That why is a thing that fuels you as you get discouraged and meet challenges and roadblocks along the way. So when you know your why, it keeps you going. When you know who you are, again, you're not confused. A lot of times when we don't know who we are constantly trying to fit into a bucket or a box that somebody or something wants us to fit in. But when you know who you are, you're not confused about trying to please that person or that person. You're true to your value, the core of who you are as a person, and to the why of why you want to be a business. When I look at an entrepreneur, I thought of it and it's like, whether it's about business or a person or a mom, a wife, you need these qualities to just be human. And that's the way I look at it. You need it to be human. So you know your why and you know who you are. One of the things when I wrote down here, my why always is I'm about serving people. I love hospitality. That's what I'm about. And so in that care, no matter what industry you put me in, I just want to make people feel good. And so every time that I reach a hiccup, I keep going back to things. And sometimes in knowing your why, write down those things that people say about you that are good, that you can pull from and fuel you as you go. The next core value is create or renovate your surrounding. I came from Jamaica in 1998, and it was hard to be in a different country, find a jacket, dress, winter, spring, whatever it may be. But one of the things that I knew I had to do was renovate my surrounding. I also had to create it. I'm in a new country, understand a new culture, even being understood. We come from an English speaking country, but there were words that sounds different, where you have to repeat yourself all the time. And so I had to recreate myself and create my surrounding. When you recreate your surrounding, you disconnect yourself from chaos. When I started my business, one of the first things somebody said to me, a nail spa belongs to the Asian community. And I said, watch me. Because I didn't believe that I need to attach any career to a certain culture or sex or person or community. I just know what I want to do and what I want to deliver. So remove yourself from chaos. And this is how you renovate. You're constantly looking, who am I surrounded by? Who are the people that are in my circle? What are they contributing to my life? Do they have me on my tippy toes? And so when you are creating or planning to move towards starting your business or growing your business, that's one of the things that I had to do. And that is hard because sometimes that means family. Disconnecting yourself, rebuilding, get the courage and the strength, and you go right back to invest back into that community and help those who you can help. So that is a big part for me. And be ready to learn. Be ready to learn and to know more, to know things you don't know. And so when you recreate that, the next thing I wrote down here is don't worry if you're judged about who you are hanging around. I don't know if you know Lisa Nicholson and Les Brown, but when I listen to those two motivational people, they're constantly talking how their community judge them and say, you're hanging around white people or you're doing this. Surround yourself with anybody, any culture, any color. If they're adding value to you, if they're adding to the next step that you want to go, if they're speaking the language that you want to learn and you can take back into your community. You're not abandoning your culture because you're making yourself, you diversify yourself. So never get trapped into saying, I'm a Black woman. And often you want to make sure that people understand that you know that you're Black. But what does that really mean? Does that mean I only serve Black people? I serve people. And so don't be worried about being judged, and don't stay away from other community. Diversify yourself. Love people. And so as you renovate your surrounding, that's one thing you need to remember. Love people and serve people, not color. That doesn't mean you're disowning who you are. I'm a confident Black woman. And there's so many uniqueness about being a Black woman. But when it comes to serving people, and never forget that color doesn't take place. So the next point I want to move to, and absolutely no excuses. No excuses. No, I am a Black woman. I didn't have a father. I was a single teenage pregnancy. There's no excuses. There is absolutely no excuses. Again, when you know your why and you know the cost that what you will have to lose, then there's no excuses. I came to Canada, like I told you, in 1998, October 16th. I remember that time. And I came here in less than a year after I became pregnant. Actually, it was not even a year, it was January of 1999. Oh my God, it sounds so far. But I was here. I am alone. I have my family here, but I was alone. I wasn't raised by my mom, so I'm here trying to connect with her. And now here I am, a Black Christian girl in church, pregnant. The boyfriend is in Jamaica. I still have to go back to high school here because when you come in this country, you're told that you need to do French and English, and I need to get 3 credits. And the long and short of that is, I'm pregnant, I'm in high school. I'm going to Bloor Collegiate in Toronto at that point, Dufferin and wherever that was. And I had to be on the train going to my telemarketer job after school ends at 4 o'clock while vomiting in my coffee cup in the train to get to Finch Station to my first job. Point is, when I look at that, the first option was given to me was abortion. And when I look at that, I keep reminded of where I am. My son is 21 today in college studying sports management. I am now Fiona Strong. I made it. I still haven't arrived because you can never arrive. The work never ends and growing never ends. And so as I speed through this conversation with you today, I want you to remember that There is absolutely no excuses. I went to college. I became a social worker. Became the executive director of the TLC Pregnancy Center here in Newmarket and run that center, providing counseling and training to young moms and any moms, older moms, anybody. We're dealing with crisis pregnancy, abortion, need counseling, homelessness. There is absolutely no excuse. I could say that I'm 41 and I've only seen my father 4 times or 5 times. I don't know my father really. I could say I didn't have a father. This is why I'm this or that. But I was raised by grandparents that they were entrepreneurs, they were farmers. I was a little girl, 10-year-old, running a little mini shop, traveling to the bus to sell in the market. Those were building me character, integrity, and value. There's absolutely no excuse. I wasn't raised by my mom, still no excuse. So sometimes we use an excuse as a comfort. And I want to say, I don't care what your excuse is. There's always somebody that can relate to you. Trust me, there's always, it's not so unique. Just have to push through and know your why and know who you are and recreate your surrounding. And so as I move through that, I want to say to you that the next thing is, while those those will contribute to your ability, being Black, being a single mom, being Black parenting and not having the right support, they contribute and they have an impact on our ability to excel and to succeed. But they should never be a crutch and it should never be a hindrance. Those things should make you want to be more warrior to achieve what you're going to go. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Trust me, nothing is easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. It takes blood, sweat, and tears. And so the next thing I want to point out to you into my 5 points of core value is confidence and courage. A lot of time, confidence is and courage, they are punished versus being rewarded. And you get disciplined for showing courage. We do that with kids. They jump off something, we want to discipline them, you could have broken a leg. That word could have. There's certain words that I avoid. And I avoid word that said, I will try. I avoid word that said, I'm going to pray about it. I avoid words the next word I avoid is the one that just say, maybe. I'm going to give you a strong yes or a strong no. Try is me really saying, I don't even want to do it. So I give my best at all times. We need to have courage. When we grew up, especially, I don't know about every culture, but in Jamaican, in my Black culture, when I grew up, we keep hearing the words that saying, self-praise is no recommendation, meaning stop talking good about yourself. If you are not talking good about yourself, how do you expect people to know what to talk about you? So in my business, I'm constantly saying, I am awesome. I am the best. You're missing out if you don't come to Coconut Village. I am it. And that energy is transferable. People feel it. People are drawn to you. And once it's authentic, it's impossible to not bring an impact and an influence. And as a result, bring income into your business. So let your confidence shine. One of my favorite poems that I teach my boys, it's from Mariam Williamson. And a part of it that says, there's absolutely nothing enlightening about shrinking so others won't feel insecure around you. She went on in that poem that says, as you allow your light to shine, you unconsciously give others permission to do the same. And so over the years, I taught myself, you have to be intentional. It doesn't just happen. Nothing just happened. These are intentional action with repetition until they become a part of who you are. And so you're constantly speaking into yourself because I'll going around and you don't want somebody to say, oh, she thinks she's better. She thinks she's all that and a bag of chip and a Coke on the side. And you got to say, yes, I am. So find your confidence. I want to point out somebody to you in our town here in Aurora. And it came to me because sometimes I like to use people that we all know. Everybody know or should know the mayor of the town, Tom Maracas. It's been pointed out to me, and I was reading about him as I was trying to get to know the leaders. And he was a painter or owns a paint shop. So let's say Tom was just the paint boy. Mr. Maracas was just the paint guy. You can be anything you want to be. There is no saying, I'm just a Black girl. I'm just this. I am just Fiona who ran a babysitting. I'm just the. No, no, no. You can leave from being a painter to be the person that's speaking on behalf of over 60,000 person in a town. You don't have to like me. The point is, there's no excuse. Your history, your past is no excuse to where you're going to become and what you want to become. The final point that I want to make to you tonight, and before I make that point, I want to say to you that sometimes we're more committed to what we're familiar with. We're more committed to what's comfortable. We're more committed to what's convenience. And I remember, again, one of the motivational speaker that I listened to say, just said, my convenience and my future does not live on the same block or live in the same postal code. You can't want to grow and be convenient at the same time. There's a stretching that is required. The final part I want to share with you tonight, help others. If you didn't take anything about what I just shared, I want you to remember this. As you build your business, as you create your wealth, whatever that looks like for you, because for everybody, success has a different definition. But as you build that, don't forget to help others along the way. You have to help others to birth their purpose. Some people can do it. They just don't know how. They want that person to pull them. I'm a Christian, so in the Bible, we talk about find your Barnabas. That person, I don't know what you find that person, your accountability, the person will say, get up on the bed. I'm sorry, get up. Get up. That idea failed, get up. But help somebody along the way. We all need somebody. I need somebody every day. I have people that I still call in and count on. I need that. No matter, we learn that higher level, higher devil. So as I close, I want to remind you this. There's an organization I joined called True Real. And you know why I joined that? Because sometimes I can't find the money to help the whole community that I would love to help. So what I do, I align myself with organization that can help me to facilitate that support, that can help me to have a lighter pocket in being a blessing to multiple organizations within our community. It does take a village. And as we were building our Coconut Village Spa, my husband and I thought about the name. And village had to be a part because we know that growing together, building your wealth, growing your business, becoming an entrepreneur takes a village. So I thank you guys again for having me today and welcome your questions and your feedback. It was an honor to be here. Thank you, Aura Public Library. Thank you, Risha. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you, everyone. And to all the other panels that are here tonight, I'm so honored to share the space with you. Thank you so much.
So Fiona, I've got goosebumps. Thank you so very much. That was truly inspirational. Thank you. I would now like to introduce Greg Smith. Greg is in sales and has been in sales and marketing for over 32 years. As Director of Promotional Marketing, Greg understands how to leverage marketing and advertising costs through partnership and networking. And I'd also like to add, having known Greg for a long time, he's really big on relationships. And I think that's one of the important parts of being an entrepreneur. As an early developer of the use of promotional marketing, Greg delivers concrete answers gained from a lifetime of experience. Listen up, everyone, as Greg tells us a story of old school meets new school, standing out from the digital crowd. Welcome, Greg.
For having me on following Fiona. Oh my goodness gracious, that's wonderful, Fiona. Just so you know, I'm inspired to open my own nail salon now because I know I can do it. So thank you very much. Thank you, Risha, Lucy, everybody, for having me here tonight. The word that we've heard a lot lately is this word pivot, and we've had to pivot during COVID and all this sort of thing. I've been selling promotional products for, more than 32. It's close to 36 years now. And my whole career has been about pivoting. When I left university, I got a job in Toronto and I was going to work in consumer packaged goods and I was going to be a marketing guy. That was my goal. So I came here to Toronto, had a couple of roommates, one of which was an Ontario speed skating coach, and he traveled the world with competitions and so on. He comes back from St. Louis and he's got this umbrella that opens like a baseball cap called a cap umbrella. And I thought, well, that's pretty kind of cool. And the Blue Jays in 1985 were up and comers and fighting for the playoffs and so on. So, anyways, I thought on the side, I'm going to sell this umbrella, and I partnered with a gentleman from St. Louis who actually had the rights, and his name was Lou Brock. And Lou Brock, for those that might know, is a Hall of Fame baseball player. And I learned a lot from Lou, actually. And so I started selling this thing retail. Plus, I was still working consumer packaged goods. And people would call me and say, Greg, love the umbrella. I'd like to put my company logo on it. Can you? And I go, sure, yeah. I mean, I learned as a salesperson to be able to say yes. So I did that. And then I'd get a call a little later on from these same people saying, can you do jackets for me with my logo on it? Again, I'd say yes. So I'd go down. Now you got to remember, 1985, no internet, anything. I'd go down to the front closet. I'd look through all the labels and all the jackets hanging in the cupboard, write down the names of all the companies, go to the yellow pages, find their phone number. And that's how I was able then to do that. So the point is that the business itself took me in directions that I had absolutely no intentions to go. And why I say that is because, you hear, oh, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a mission statement and you have to have a business plan and you have to do all of these kinds of things. And that's not my journey. I didn't really have that. I had an idea as I went along of the things that I wanted to do, but my thing was just networking, relationships, like Risha said. That was important to me. I played baseball, hockey, all kinds of different things. I involved in my community in terms of volunteerism and so on. And I met so many people, and that network just took me in different directions. So, as an example, I was involved in outfitting Canada's Olympic teams back in the 80s and early 90s, as well as Pan Am Games team. Never would have thought I would have been involved in doing anything like that. That led to me doing work with Canada 125. I basically did a national program for Canada's 125th birthday, bringing communities and grassroots organizations together in celebration of Canada's 125th birthday. From there, United Nations came calling, and I worked on an international project for the International Year of the Family. All of these kinds of things I hadn't planned for, and I hadn't set out to be goals of things that I wanted to do. It was just because I had good relationships with people. They knew what I could do. I had the passion, as Fiona said, the passion to help people and to help them help myself. And so we changed our company name. Now we go by Promotional Marketing, but the corporate name is the Partnership Network. And the logo was 3 diamonds all linked together. And it was my customer, ourselves, and our partners, vendors, suppliers, whatever you want to call them. And we would have annual meetings, bring customers and suppliers together. So I wasn't afraid that my customers were going to cut me out of the middle and go directly to my vendors because of relationships and the fact that we had an ability to put people in contact with each other who could answer questions and provide ideas and advice both to my customers but also to our vendors. And this worked extremely well for us. My advice to new entrepreneurs: follow your own path. Yes, it's nice to be able to follow, have a mission statement. And if you're comfortable doing mission statements and business plans, do it. Absolutely put it together. To me, it's follow your passion. If your passion is making the greatest cupcakes in the world, follow that passion. I think you have to be yourself, be confident, like Fiona said, in who you are and what you bring to the table. If anybody here on this call knows me, they know I wear shorts and sandals pretty well 365 days of the year. And yeah, that seems kind of weird to a lot of people, and I get that. But I didn't do it to be a brand. That's just that's how I like to be comfortable and what I like to wear. But I'll give you a great example. I went to one of my clients a couple years ago, and I went into boardroom, high level executives, all there. My contact that I dealt with that brought me to this meeting. I walk in with my jacket and I got long pants on and shoes. I walk in. He calls me out for dressing up the part. And he goes, I told all these guys you're going to walk in shorts and sandals. And it just reminded me, you have to be true to yourself and who you are. And yeah, some people won't like that. And people think that's kind of weird and so on. But back to again, what Fiona says, you have to be comfortable in your own skin. And no matter who you are, you have to be able to do that. Be your own brand. Be your company, your product. Have yourself stand apart and promote what you do and the passion for what you have. Important key. Network. Believe it or not, I'm an introvert. I find it awkward going into situations with strange people and people I don't know. And it really takes a little bit of courage and practice to be able to get yourself out there. I have met some incredible people because of the fact I've just put my hand out, shook somebody's hand, and introduced myself and talked about myself, my family, my journey, whatever. And I have some amazing relationships all because of that. And the last thing I want to say is enjoy the journey. It's going to be hard. There's going to be ups, downs, everything. You have to get back again to Fiona. You just have to understand the why. You have to understand why you got into this whole craziness of being an entrepreneur. I can say now, as I'm in the later years of my career, you look back and I look at all my friends, and many of whom work for these big consumer packaged goods companies are all retiring and so on. And, I look at and I always wonder myself, should I have stayed in that path or that part of it? But then when you look back, you realize all the wonderful opportunities that happened because you put yourself out there and you risked everything to do your business. And at the end of the day, I don't think I'll ever retire. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. And I just think that you have to be happy and find joy in what you do. And it doesn't matter whether that's work or play or whatever it is. Find joy and enjoy the journey. I want to thank Risha and Lucy for having me, and all my fellow panelists. Thank you very much for having me join you. And thank you for everybody else from home for joining in and listening to what this older gentleman had to say. Have a good night, everyone.
So, Greg, that was not only a message on being an entrepreneur, but really being a human being with an amazing spirit. Thank you so very much for that. Elvira Caria is an award-winning journalist and multi-platform broadcaster with over 30 years in print, radio, television, marketing, and public relations. She's also one of the most sought out MCs and voice actors in the industry. Elvira is currently the host of Carious Corner, an interactive live on location social media broadcast platform, and a professor in the radio and media production program at Humber College's School of Media Studies. Welcome, Elvira.
Hello, everybody. And thank you so much to Risha and Lucy and everyone that is tuned in here. I want to start off by saying that, and here's an irony alert, and I hope it begins with a laughter. What used to get me detentions in school, throughout school, I might add, doesn't matter how old I was, is now what people are paying me to do, and that is talk. Talking has always been an issue in my world. As young as I can remember, and the minute I hit school, I was that kid that they would move to the front of the class, then they would move to the middle of the class, then they would put me in that little corner of like the real back of the class. And then finally, my teacher just once said to me, my grade 3 teacher, she said, "I just don't know what to do with you. I'm going to have to put you in the hallway." Well, that's because I loved talking. Now, it wasn't about me. What I loved to do was ask questions. And I find it very interesting that Fiona started with the why, and then Greg sort of, threaded that why, because that is an important question. I spent my entire childhood and right through to today asking that all important why. But my job and what inspires me every single day is to actually find out people's whys. I want the answers to the whys. So I want to leave it like that for now. I am indeed a multi-platform broadcaster, award-winning. I don't know why that matters, but I'm proud of it. Fiona, thank you so much for I used to be embarrassed saying that I was an award-winning anything. And I think Fiona just today in the last 45 minutes made me feel like it's okay. It's okay to be proud of yourself and proud of your achievements. So I want to start off by saying thank you, Fiona, for making me say that. I'm friggin' 58 years old and I'm finally saying, you know what? I'm proud of my achievements. But I want to talk about that kid again for just a couple of minutes and then bring it into sort of my world today. I was also that child that had no intentions in a group setting playing with children. I loved to sit in an environment where I heard adults speaking because I was, maybe you might say, nosy. I don't know. I don't think it was nosy. I think I was curious. I loved people's stories. I'm so excited to hear Fiona. I'm excited to hear Greg so far because I love people's stories. And I love to take people's stories and tell the rest of the world those stories. I was known in downtown Toronto as a reporter. I started off at the Toronto Sun and then I worked in various radio stations, including AM 640, Q107. I was the psychedelic Sunday chick, but I spent the majority of my career in a newsroom. And I was known as the radio chick who knew all the homeless guys by name. And I really did. And if I were to die today and somebody had to talk about me, I hope to hell that they say Elvira cared so much about people that maybe we forgot about or appeared to forget about. I was that person that spoke to homeless people and I asked the why. That why has chased my world for a very long time up until today. I am driven by people's stories, but then when I know that story doesn't quite make sense, I found out the why. And that's the investigative side of my journey, which also is an interesting story. I'm also an observer. That is a very important role in journalism. I know talking is, but listening is actually more important than talking in journalism. And when I took people's stories, I had to make sure that there was a resolution to that person's story when I brought it to the rest of the world or the rest of my audience, whatever that may have been. The platform was obviously talk radio or it was television. I've done it all, print radio. I have covered incredible, sad crime stories, including the famous Carla Homolka and Paul Bernardo case, which, yes, affected me. I left the newsroom for a few years to get into the DJ side of it, what we call the DJ side, but it was the on-air personality side of it. Had so much fun, loved it. My goal from probably grade 8 was to become a Q107 on-air announcer. I achieved that goal. And I was at the peak of my career, so I thought, and I was really excited about being there. And I had a young family, newly married. My son was not newly married, had a new child, like maybe 3 years old or 4, worked like a dog. I was very versatile in what I did. I had the luxury of being able to go into a newsroom. So versatility and adaptability is a very important factor in, I think, everyone's journey, what it should be anyway, which we'll get to in a sec. I want to give my story before I go into this, the criteria of what I think an entrepreneurship today looks like. I was at the peak of my career at radio station. I mentioned it obviously, but the whole chorus radio, I loved it. I loved my job. I was being groomed for, the morning show, or not morning show. Derringer's always going to have the morning show, but definitely up and coming. Here's this unbelievable announcer. She's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. And then I worked 82 straight days, this particular year. And, I was too busy to realize that I had an appendix rupture that had gone very bad. And I survived an appendix rupture, but I survived it 6 weeks later, which had become toxic and had gangrened into my body. And I was now in peritonitis shock, which was going into septic shock. And I remember it was after working 82 days, I had 3 straight days off. And on day 2, I ended up in the hospital. And I remember this because that is what drove me to where I am today. I drove myself to the hospital. My husband was down here in Toronto, and my son and I and my mom were up north. And this pain had surfaced again. I drove myself to the hospital, wheeled in. It was like a scene out of television. And they told me that at the time they thought I was having an appendix rupture in real time. So they prepped me for an operation. And the first call I made was not to my husband, but it was, sorry. Still raw. The first call I made was to my boss. And I said, I'm in the hospital. I'm not sure I'm going to make it to work tomorrow. And she paused and I hear it in my ears. She went, are you really in the hospital? And I remember being wheeled in, and I said to my God, please let me come out the other side and I will change my life. Because at that very moment, whether I worked 82 days or I worked 82 years, I realized at the end of the day, I was just an employee. I was just a number. I was just, and I deserved better than that. And I came out of it and I made a promise to God. And I left in the peak of my career. I left a radio station that I dreamed of working at since grade 9. And I remember giving my resignation letter to my boss. And he said, what are you doing? Nobody quits Q107. And I said, well, I just did. And I left. And then I said, what the hell am I going to do now? And it took me a while. It took me about 4 or 5 months to, wallow in my sorrow. And then I did the Fiona thing and I made no more excuses. I said, I'm smarter than half these people I've ever worked with. So what am I going to do? I'm going to take the knowledge that I have. And I swore to myself I would never work for anybody ever again. I swore I would never do that. And I took my knowledge and I created the Elvira Caria MediaCom brand because I am the brand. And I realized I was the product. I was the product. People bought into me, Elvira Caria, the on-air personality, the journalist at the Toronto Sun, the, reporter at this place. People bought into me because I was the relationship between myself and that person. And so I built on that. And what I built was everything that I knew. All the knowledge I knew I had. I just needed to A, believe in myself, and B, have the passion, which we go back to Fiona and Greg's comments. You have to have passion. If you don't love what you're doing, you need to stop whatever it is you're doing and change. You've got to have passion because if you're spending 8, 10, 12, 15 hours a day, every day, doing whatever it is that you're doing, you better love what you're doing. And you better understand that people buy into you. You're the product. You're the one. So what is a brand? Besides your logo, besides your, website and all these other things, color schemes, actually your brand is you. Your brand is the promise that you make to your client. It's everything that you are delivering, who you are. As I mentioned, it's the memory that you make with people because that's a brand. It's the value that you're offering. It's the attitude that you project. It's how you are perceived, by the way. That's a brand. And I realized that by myself, as Elvira Caria, the brand, I was happier. Let's talk transparency. I've never made more money than I ever did working for somebody else because at the end of the day, people bought into me. So number one, passion. Number two, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to change. There's that comfort level that Fiona spoke about as well. And it's funny that we all have same threading, maybe tips that we all share with you because they're true. I think we've all experienced that. If you fail, this is number 3. If you fail, get up, do it again. Don't worry about it. You know how many people failed? So many people failed. Number 4, you have to be honest with yourself at one point. And I do this every year. At the end of the year, I take the month of January off, and I reassess what happened that previous year. What worked, what didn't work, what can I do, what don't I want to do anymore? If there was no passion, then if you become resentful, you do it reluctantly. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. There's no time for that nonsense. And one of the things why I believe I was able to be as successful as I have been is 2 words: adaptability and versatility. I am a person that does not believe in being a one-trick pony. I believe that we are versatile. We are more than just that one thing that we do. And I think that when crisis happens, when you don't put all your eggs in one basket, there's a better chance of being able to survive the pandemic. I'm an MC. I'm a festivals and events broadcaster. I'm an MC. That went to hell in a high water as soon as 2020 hit. But I had my voice work. I had my, radio show, which I am back in radio, talk show radio, but under my terms. And it's my show. And we do it our way. Our guests are my guests. And it's feels so different. Another thing that I want to remind everybody is Fiona hit it again. In my journey of being successful, I love my community, and you cannot be an island. You cannot be an island. You have to be part of a bigger thing. And that thing is community. So whoever gave me the opportunity to build my brand, to build my business, it was time to give back. And I give back every year. I mean, it goes through some of my branding is Curious Corner, Community Corner. I focus and give attention to not-for-profits and charities in the community because they need it. And I do it with my heart. I love it. And I think that's sort of, I mean, we can talk a whole spiel of branding, but I tell my students that, in 17 weeks, if I don't know your name, because your name is your brand, by the way, your name, Fiona Strong, she's the brand, not Coconut Village Spa. Fiona is the brand. Greg is his brand. The company is the company name. Mine just happens to be the same name as my, birth name, but you are the brand. And I want everybody to remember that. And that's it. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I think when there's branding, well, actually I have to say, circumstance brought me to become an entrepreneur. This was not my intention. My intention was to stay a radio person or television person, media person, and wanted to work with everybody, wanted to do my shifts, come home, not worry about anything. Circumstance didn't happen. That's not what was intended for me. And I will never look back. And I actually, I thank that boss in hindsight now, years later. I thank that boss that boss said what he said to me, because it changed my life for the good. Thank you.
Elvira, it was such an honor having you with us this evening. Thank you so very much for sharing that.
Thank you.
Sarah Chang's story as founder of Bluish is one of resilience. When Sarah gave birth to her baby girl, she had to find a way forward to a work-life balance. You may have seen Sarah's beautiful twill skirt designs in Vogue magazine, or watched her successfully pitch her business to Arlene Dickinson on Dragon's Den. Sarah's approach to business has been described as, and I love this, capitalism with heart, where storytelling is your product. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Risha, for the introduction. I wanted to start off by acknowledging all of the speakers ahead of me. I'm so inspired and humbled, really, to be here and to speak with, alongside all of you. So thank you for sharing your stories tonight. So my name is Sarah. I'm the person behind Bluish. Bluish is essentially an e-commerce business. We sell tulle skirts, or they're also known as tutus, for women, for moms and babies and kids. But what we're really about, though, is to crack a light in the dark. And what does that mean? Well, there's a story behind Bluish, and obviously the name, because it isn't even really a word. So I had my baby girl, her name is Summer, 5 years ago. Actually, she's 6 now, but I had her 6 years ago, and I started Bluish about 5 years ago. Right after I had her, I was lost as a new mother. So to give you a little bit of background, I went to school for accounting, and then I spent many hours in accounting firms getting my CPA designation. I was very used to that rhythm of life where I was hyper busy. I worked a lot. I went home and quickly fed myself, went to bed, and I went back to work. I was very used to that rhythm, and it made me feel productive. That was the kind of productivity that I was very accustomed to. And I was busy up until pretty much giving birth to summer. So after I was thrown into this thing called motherhood, that I was completely, I didn't know what to do with it, to be honest. And, I think the conversation nowadays about motherhood is very different from the conversation from what it was like, 5-6 years ago. 5-6 years ago, I think it was very much focused around the physicality of it. So, like, as long as you got the right chair, the right crib, the right stroller, the right breast pump, like, you should be fine as a new mother. What more could there possibly be? Well, after I had Summer, I felt, actually, I don't feel good at all. With these things, I didn't think that they helped me very much at all. I felt the heaviness and the burden of being a new mother, and honestly, I wasn't sure I liked my new identity very much. I felt the heaviness of it, not just physically, but also in my heart and in my head. And so finally I got to one point, I just felt, okay, let's just take a break. I need a break from all of this. Why don't I just do something that's fun to just lighten things up and help me connect with my daughter, because I was feeling so blue so often that I found it really hard to connect with her. And that made me even more sad, because she's my baby. She's my first baby. And not being able to connect with her, that made things worse. So, okay, I thought, well, why don't we just take a break? And I thought, okay, well, if I dress her up and I dress myself up, that usually makes me smile to see her, all cute and wobbling. And that's what I did. I put her in a tutu and I put myself in one, and she was happy to see me happy, and we were wearing the same thing. So then I got to thinking, that was the thing that cracked a light in a moment of darkness for me. And I thought, maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe I'm not the only new mother who's struggling, who doesn't know what to do with her new identity, and just needs a break, something to bring a smile and make things and help her connect with her little one. And so that's what I did. I thought, well, why don't I just take it as an opportunity to start a mat leave project? And I didn't think very far. I just thought, mat leave project, there's a clear end to it, because when I go back to work, that'll definitely be the end of this project. So I quickly built a minimum viable product, and I took it to the baby shows. And obviously, 5 years later, I'm here talking to you about Bluish. So it wasn't just a mat leave project, and it's been going on for the past 5 years. Last year, we were fortunate enough to be invited to pitch on Dragon's Den. And on Dragon's Den, I shared my story with the dragons, and they were all incredibly receptive and sympathetic, and they really understood the core of Bluish and what we really mean and stand for. What makes me the happiest now, looking at Bluish, in terms of what it is and how far we've come along, is that it's fulfilling what it's meant to be and the meaning behind it. I think Fiona talked about, the why behind your business, and this is our why. And it makes me happy to see that it's becoming that. After we pitched on Dragon's Den, we were, it was a wild year. It's been about a year, almost a year, and it's been crazy. We've been presented with a lot of opportunities, to grow our business in a bunch of ways. And I had to make a lot of decisions and cope with, the growth, and also with a baby, because I was 9 months pregnant when we pitched, and then he was born a month after. So in the midst of, taking care of a little baby and Bluish growing, and, assessing which direction to take Bluish, where we are now is I'm really proud of. Bluish is, there's a lot of meaning behind the story. I've probably said that, 10 times within in the last minute. But the way that we're able to maintain that integrity still and have a heart when we interact with all of our customers and the people who talk to us and tell us their stories, that I'm still able to personally interact with all of these people, is very important to me. So looking back, there are just a few things that I thought would be maybe interesting to share. I think one of the takeaways that I think about when I look back is really embrace all of your identities. I think, after I had Summer, this new motherhood identity I didn't know what to do with, I felt like I needed to choose one or the other, like between being a busy accountant or a mother, and then later an entrepreneur. Like when I pigeonholed myself into just a single identity and acting, within the lane of that identity and whatever that meant to me, that was actually very, that suffocated me, and it kind of choked the creativity out of it. And it became, painful and really obligatory in what I was doing. So I'd say, if you're looking at creating your own business or your side hustling, or, even if you have nothing to do with a business and, you're working in a corporate environment, it doesn't really matter what the context is, because we're all human and we all have more than one identity. So I think this is an important takeaway, to embrace all of your identities and take what you can from each of those, to make, something that works for you. Another important takeaway is to grow it your way. So again, whether this is applicable to your own business or, your work. After Dragon's Den, as I mentioned, we were presented with a number of ways to grow our business. And e-commerce, there is an existing playbook way to grow it. And a lot of the e-commerce businesses out there now, that's the way, that's the model that they adopt, and they grow to, a multi-million-dollar business. After our pitch, and when we were going through that process, I had a long reflective process of what I really want from my business, and I didn't want to lose the meaning and the identity behind it. So I decided to grow it in a way that is counter playbook wisdom. So what we're doing actually is we're opening a photo studio in Markham, and also we're really putting a lot of intention, a lot more attention and intention into our writing that's published. And how did I arrive at this? I took a long look backwards. I looked at, from the beginning of Bluish, when I just started it as a mat leave project, and I had no intention of it going anywhere. Like, what was it from that point onwards that took us and sustained us to this point? And I realized it was a lot of coming together people of story, and a lot of writing and a welcoming aesthetic. So I have this here. Actually, this was something that I showed during the pitch. If you had a chance to take a look, this is an editorial that we put together that kind of encapsulates everything that I had just said that makes Bluish what it is. So this was a photo shoot that we hosted at a photo studio. We invited a handful of women, to take photos in our skirts. And then we also we asked them to tell us their stories. And that's what they did. And then this is what we came up with. It's a publication of their stories and then their pictures. And each of them, they have a message behind their story. And it's all, a message that's promoting some kind of strength and encouragement. And so this is really, in a nutshell, what Bluish is best at. And I wanted to make this more prominent than ever. And that's why we decided to grow Bluish, take it in this direction. And then finally, there's always a way, I think, whether, again, you have a business already, you're starting one, or you're side hustling, doesn't really matter, again, what the context is, but there's always a way to move forward. However, the way that you move forward may or may not be what you had in mind originally. And I say that because there's, a narrative out there that thinks that, in order to fulfill your dreams and, what you're meant to do, you should take that leap of faith and leave everything behind. I do think that taking that leap and that jump is very important because you do have to take that attempt. However, there's nothing stopping you from creating a safe landing so that when you do take that jump, and if things go bad, because they very well could, that you have a soft landing to land on. I think that doesn't make your jump any less brave. It doesn't take away from it. And what does that have to do with there's always a way to move forward? What I mean is if there's something holding you back where you think, I can't make that jump, no, not today, you can still do it. There's a way to move forward that maybe doesn't require as much, because the point here is to move forward. It doesn't need to be a big leap, but as long as you move forward, you're going in the right direction. So that's, I think, the last takeaway that I'm going to share tonight.
Thank you so very much, Sarah. I just love what your company is doing, and that's a beautiful book. So congratulations on that. So everybody, we're now going to turn the evening over to our guests. So please put your questions in the Q&A. We've got some that I'll be starting with. And if you wanted to ask them to everyone, feel free to do that. Or if there's one entrepreneur in particular you want to ask a question, then please let us know. And so I'm going to start the first question. Actually, I'm going to answer. It's obviously from a student who wants to know if they're going to be getting a certain certificate from attending our event this evening. You need to speak to your teacher about that. I don't know. But going on to the next question. I love this one. The question is, I have a question about wanting to be an entrepreneur. I have a question about wanting to be an entrepreneur and not having an audience to reach, especially as a teenager. Panelists, can you help with that one?
All right, I'll take this one. I'll take this. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
So what is the question is, I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm a teenager.
They need an audience to reach because they are a teenager. How do they become an entrepreneur? How do they get that audience? It's a great question.
My goodness gracious. I think nowadays with digital marketing, social media, it's probably the easiest time to get your audience at that particular age, within that age group. The more important question is, because then you can start your audience. First of all, decide what is it that you want to be an entrepreneur about? Meaning, start with a passion. What is your passion? And passion also, and you're only 16, and that's okay, but you also have to think strategically. So how do we make money on our passion? Because that's what an entrepreneur is. Otherwise, we are philanthropists. We just, we're not for profits forever in our life. I mean, we still have to put food on the table. Maybe at age 16 you don't, but it gives you a good lesson to start that whatever your passion is, you have to also have the ability to understand that it's a business and business makes money. It's okay to make money. I think people have this big bad, like, look at these people, they're making money. Well, yes, that's how we feed our family. So, and then take that passion and sit down and create your 5 W's. I go back to my journalism. Who would be interested? What is your intent? What is your message? Where do we want to project and find that audience? Because you have to grow an audience. An audience just doesn't miraculously happen. Who, what, where, when? When is a great time? So if it's a time sensitive product, or if it's, a gym, for example, when is the best time to launch a gym? Well, probably in January when everybody's trying to lose weight after the lovely chocolates that we all ate at the holidays. I mean, these are little things. Ask yourself the 5 W's. And then where do you find your audience? The most obvious is demo target who you think would be interested in that product, and then start at a social media level and grow from there, because that's the cheapest way to grow your audience. And then you got to go within the community and start networking. Get involved in chambers, get involved in local events, you have to be face to face at the end of the day at one point or another while you're growing your business. That would be my sort of, yeah. Greg, you agree, disagree?
No, I totally agree. I'm going to give, since I've been the old school meets new school sort of guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell, when I was 12 years old, I started selling a product called Best Line. It was like a multi-level, like an Amway type of thing. And one thing I identified is stay-at-home moms. Boy, they had a little bit of time on their hands for me to go in and demonstrate the cleaning on this rug or whatever it was of the products I was selling. And I'd go to the weekly meetings and I'd win a blender or whatever it is. And I'd take it home to my mother and, she'd be so excited. And so, but I think that today that's still the same. It doesn't matter whether it's social media that you're using to do it. It's the same concept. It's, identifying what product you have that you have the passion for and who the market is, and then working accordingly to build that.
Fiona?
Great advice so far. And what I will add to that is sometimes people really don't know what business they want to do. So if you're at the place where you're saying, hey, I'm a student, I know I want to be a business owner, this is the right time to even look right around in the young people around you. What is lacking? What are they drawn to? And what skills do I have that can create what I see the lack is or the need is? So right now, you might not know exactly what you want to run or what business you want to start, but just start from looking within your circle. Because right now you're within a school setting where you could be selling your product right to them on the school ground, right? So it sometimes it's simpler than we think, and you might not have to overthink it, but it's a great question. So with all the feedbacks that you've gotten today, just keep writing those things. What's happening around me, especially during this pandemic? What has changed about youth and how we're functioning? So all the best, and obviously you know how to reach out to us further, any other questions that you may have. But thanks for asking. That was a great question.
You want to add anything to that, Sarah? You good?
I think I'll add just a little bit from specifically a social media perspective, because that's also where I started and how I started. Social media is a tough place nowadays, I think. It's very crowded, and I totally get that frustration, because I still get it a lot of times. But one thing that really worked for me, and I still think is true, is consistency. So the kind of content that you share, that may change. The way that it's shared may change. Back then it was more pictures, and now we're more into video. But consistency, and when you give it enough time, that audience will grow. So that's my single takeaway from social media over the years.
Thank you. Actually, the next note I have isn't a question, but I think it's really, I love it. This guest says, it's crazy how I saw her first last night on Dragon's Den. So that's a shout out to you, Sarah. I guess there was a replay of your edition. So I love that one. The next person says, Fiona, I know you must be extremely busy, but how can I get in touch with you? Fiona, do you want to do a call out on your business so somebody can get in touch with you?
Of course. You can reach me anyhow. I do make myself available. I know sometimes we stretch ourselves thin, but you can find me on Instagram at Coconut Village Spa. You can email me at aurora@coconutvillagenails.com, or just call me 905-726-8832.
You just have to look around town because Fiona's everywhere. The next question is actually to me, and this guest is saying that she connected a little bit late and lost part of the presentation, so she's wondering if it's going to be recorded. We are recording, and so you'll be able to see it on the library's YouTube station, and also we'll be sending it out on social media as well. Another guest had a very good comment. She was agreeing with our speakers, saying, absolutely, we are all human, as Lou said. Great job, speakers. The other comment. The person who asked about whether they were going to be getting a certificate, their Wi-Fi cut out, and they missed my answer was, you need to check with your teacher. I do not know. The next question is to Elvira. I have another question. Do you purchase your products first or market them without your products? That's what I'm having trouble with.
Do you purchase your products first?
Or market without your products?
No, you can't. You should never market without the product in hand. Never, never, never. That would not be good. The most important thing and some may agree or disagree. This is just through experience. It's an old sales thing that, what is your point of differentiation? So what is what makes you stand out? So I use this analogy my first day at Humber. I bring in a no-name detergent, and then I bring in I bring in a Tide. It's the exact same thing. It's unmarked. It's packaged the exact same way, but the brand is turned around. So nobody knows what it is. And I always say, so what is this? And right away, because brand recognition, my students will go, it's Tide. Okay, great. So number one, you already know, the brand already worked. Number two is, who do you want to be? Do you want to be the no-name brand? Or do you want to be the brand that everybody recognizes? So the key here to answer the person's question is have that product, but what is the story behind that product? People have to connect with the story behind it. Everybody can sell the same product. Mostly they do. Fiona, you know this. There's a million spas, every corner there is. So what is your point of differentiation? I've been to Fiona's. The point of differentiation is the experience within that location. So what is the customer relation? How do you feel going in? How do you feel going out? And that's your point of differentiation. So take that product, and then before you market it out, how do you want that end user to feel when they have that product? Tim Hortons does it all the time. Everybody does it. A&W, Mama Burgers. They don't talk about how the burger's made. They talk about sitting down and, that couple is telling their grandmother or grandma burger. They told the grandma on a napkin that they're going to be a grandmother. It's tugging at that's what advertising is. It's creativity. It's people being able to connect with that product and how are they see themselves using it.
Thank you. This is actually, I wonder about this question too. Would TikTok be a good way to spread the word? What does the panel think about TikTok?
Was that a question?
Sarah?
I'll say I think that it is. I think TikTok is at that within social media life cycle. I think it's at that stage now where they want to push out content to discover what's valuable to that platform. So they're testing out a lot of content, which in turn means if you're pushing out content, then it will reach a lot of people. So if you're thinking like if that is what you're looking to do, I think it's a great way to do it. That said, I don't personally use it for Bluish. Because another factor I think to consider is, what your strength is. If there are so many social media platforms out there, you can't use all of them. That's right. So if taking on TikTok means you need to give up Instagram or Facebook, or will take away from those platforms, but you're stronger in those platforms, then I would caution from taking that approach just because, it's the up and coming and trending platform right now.
Anybody else have a comment on TikTok? Right.
I agree with Sarah. That's why I'm not on TikTok. My dancing ability is not up to par, so I stay away from that one.
This is a very interesting question. Everybody listen up to this one. I am interested in your darkest hour and how you managed to overcome it. I remember asking my entrepreneurial father how he kept his good nature and attitude when things were unsure. He didn't know for sure, but he joked that it was fear. What an amazing question. Panelists, I'd love to hear your responses for those of you who choose. Fiona.
I kind of love this one because it is a great question. And I just want to make sure I understand the question correctly. The person want to know how you overcame your darkest moment as an entrepreneur?
Hour. More than a moment. Your darkest hour and how you overcame.
So this is one of them. So before Coconut Village, I ran a daycare for 13 years. And the darkest moment is running and dealing with business and clients while going through a separation with your husband. And you need to be able to disassociate, because at the end of the day, you're still a person. You feel, you experience, but you're committed to both things. And I'm committed to my work, and my work should never lose anything just because this dark moment that I'm going through, the hour, whatever you want to call it. And so went through it, and up to almost to reconciliation, almost to that point of almost a year before client was able to find out or tell them. And so what I learned is that balance, no matter what you do, balance is important. You have to feed into yourself. For me, it's music. I love to sing. I love to listen to music. I love happy things. I cook. I love food. It's like an art for me. So I think everybody is an entrepreneur, no matter what you have a coping mechanism that you run to. For me, again, I said it's cooking, it's music, and it's make sure once you're doing the thing you love, you should be able to at least. But that was one of the dark moments for me. And you do it because, again, you're committed to your why and you love what you do. So that's my little piece.
Anybody else want to throw in a comment on this one? Greg?
I was just going to say back to my earlier comment, I was seeing myself dancing on TikTok. It was one of my darkest hours I ever had. So
Elvira, I think you were going to say something. Did you want to do that before I moved on to the next?
Sure. I think I gave you my darkest hour in my 10-minute. That was my darkest hour. I was so absorbed with a career, even though I had a family, which I mean, I didn't, let me be clear. I didn't neglect my family. It was just, you were just in, you were in that zone, and you worked and you worked and you never learned. By the way, I didn't say this before, and I want to say this. As time goes by, you will learn this. You have to, for your mental health, you have to at one point learn to say no, because I was not that person for a very long time. That's how it brought me to my dark place in that dark moment. I think that so I'm, as probably most of us are, we are first generation immigrant children, or, and so we work because that's the ethic that was brought into it. I think this next generation that is, before us, we like to bash the millennials, but I think they kind of actually have it right. They demand a balance, and I don't think that's a bad word. Work and play balance is super important, because it can't just be all work. And by the way, that also includes being an entrepreneur. Now, we know we take calls all hours of the night because we're the bosses. We have to. But there comes a point where you teach people how to treat you. And so your client is going to have to learn that, this is family time, and that's okay. It's okay to be that way. So how do you overcome your dark time? Is reassess. Just take a breath. Don't react. Just step back. What happened? How did I get here? And where do I want to go after that? I think that's a fair answer. Yeah.
So I'm going to ask the panel to listen very closely while I read off the next question. Okay. Elvira kind of already addressed this, but I'll ask it more specifically. I'm building a digital book and film production company. I don't have a monetization model, either through traditional distribution channels, subscription, or ads, but I want to get the content out there anyway. Given that media is a fully saturated market, would you recommend just putting the material out there for free and hoping to build an audience? Or would it be wiser to pursue monetization? It's a judgment call, I know, but I'd love to get the panel's thoughts. Thank you, and sorry for the dissertation. Panelists, what do you think? Whoever's going to speak must unmute themselves.
Oh,
Sarah.
Okay, Sarah's ready. Go ahead, Sarah.
I think I would do both, actually. I think I would offer a freebie, and then I would charge at least a little bit for something. As Elvira mentioned before, you're here to make money. A business is meant to make money. At the beginning, sure, if you give it up for free, you might get more attention, but you might not, because my experience audience nowadays, actually, if it's free, I think people they're suspicious. If you make them pay just even a little bit, and they understand. And can you dance afterwards?
Greg, I think you were going to say something on that one.
I was going to say, it's. I'd look at it like trying to sell a product at Costco. I mean, you sample, you give people an opportunity to try a little bit for free, and if they like it, then they'd be expected to pay some money to buy the product. I think that approach works very well in whether it be creative or physical products. I think it spans across everything, in my opinion.
Well, I'm going to thank you. I'm going to whip through some of the comments here because you've been very gracious, panelists, because we're over time, but we've had so many questions, and I really wanted to get to as many as possible. So I'll just mention a few of the comments that have come through. Thanks for great EIR speakers. I particularly enjoyed how you've been building on each other's talks and comments in the Q&A. Thanks. Thank you, folks, for sharing your time and knowledge. I will have questions for sure. Would love to chat with all of you one-on-one. It was very inspiring. Thank you. P.S. Fiona, I did see your site because I need a mani-pedi for sure. Can't wait to meet you. Oh, here's an interesting one. I'm going to just whip through a few of them. I'm going to do a hard stop at 8:30. Is it a good idea to have your face in your business social media? Fiona.
So when I started, because nobody would know I'm shy, and I stopped saying I'm shy because I feel that the more I said it, I start becoming more shy. So I stopped saying it, but I'm a very shy person. But whatever I'm passionate about and care about, you will never know that I'm shy. So when I would go on social media and speak, my friends were like, "You're a business person. You can't say that. You can't share that." But the response I was getting was generating very organic connection to me. People need to see your face. That's who you will, at least that's what works for me. And as I get better at it, I thought I'd make it better, right? But you need to put your face to it. That shows that you're confident, you're building trust, and you're connecting with people. So for me, that has been a very successful piece of how I don't even call it marketing. I connect with the people that I serve. So I hope you will do that too.
Does anybody else want to comment on that one, Elvira?
I think I said it before and I teach it. It's my day one. It is the very first thing that I do. You are the brand, period. You, not the company you work for, not it is all encompassing. It's all encompassing. But at the end of the day, you are the face, the name, the experience, the relation that you have with your consumer, your end user, your customer. So if they don't know you, and by the way, social media shouldn't be used just sell. They should get little nuggets of who you really are, of who you are as a person. If you follow me on social media, I am absolutely ridiculous some days, and then I am dead serious another. You see the journalism in me, you see the community activist in me, but all of it, and here's a key I want everybody to walk away with. People have bullshit readers. I'm sorry I used that word. I do apologize. You have to be authentic. The minute you create a persona, you've lost everything because you better be you. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's you. And people love it because we're authentic, and people know when somebody is a persona or when somebody is a person. Very big difference.
Thank you very much. As I close this evening's Entrepreneur in Residence, I want to thank Fiona Duran, Greg Smith, Elvira Caria, and Sarah Chang for so generously giving their time and expertise. A question did come in: how do I contact the panelists? If you look at the poster that Aurora Public Library put out advertising this event, you'll see everybody's business is there. So you can do it that way, support local business. That would be great. And also somebody asked how they can get in touch with me. Well, I'm at the library. Everybody got my email address on your reminders, so feel free to contact me. Greg, you wanted to say something? No, oh, sorry, I thought you were stopping me for something. So I'd like to thank our panelists for taking the time this evening and sharing their stories with us. I'd like to thank Lucy Bouchette for her absolutely fabulous marketing and promotion and for tech support this evening. She just keeps us all going. And I would like to thank every single person who spent their evening with us. It's been a pleasure to be able to host this event. If you or anybody you know has a story to tell as an entrepreneur, please get in touch with me at the library, armandlecorn@aurorapl.ca. Ask anybody at Aurora Public Library, they will find me. Look at me under contacts. We do regular entrepreneurs in residence, and I'm always looking for new stories. It's about human interest and it's about who we are. So if you or someone you know would like to appear on this, please get in touch with me. So again, thank you for coming this evening. Good night and stay safe.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.